All right, let's get right into it. Something pretty wild happened to the Qubitcoin network back in November. Its hash rate, its raw power, just shot straight up. But here's the thing, it wasn't random, and it definitely didn't come out of nowhere. So today we're going to be detectives. We're going to piece together the clues, follow the data, and solve this mystery of Qubitcoin's insane growth. And this is the number that made everyone's jaw drop. A plus 380% increase in network hash rate, and it felt like it happened overnight. Now, a jump this huge is, well, it's pretty much unheard of unless a massive amount of new hardware suddenly joins the party. But as you're about to see, that's not the story here at all.
And disquote, this is the core of our whole investigation. The source material is basically saying, hey, this whole explosion was predictable. It was the big, dramatic final act of a play that had been building up for months. So to really get what happened in the finale, we've got to go back and see how it all started.
So yeah, this is the big question, right? If it wasn't just a flood of new miners suddenly plugging in their rigs, what was it? Well, the answer is hiding in the really unique way Qubitcoin's proof-of-work system is built. And that story doesn't start in November. It actually starts way back in August.
So, to really unpack what happened, we have to rewind the clock. We're going to break this whole thing down into 3 different phases, and you'll see how each phase perfectly set the stage for the next one, building up all this momentum for that final, massive surge.
Let's kick things off with Phase 1, the calibration. This was from August through mid-September. Now, if you were just looking at the network from the outside, you might have thought it looked, a little weak, a little experimental. But what was really going on under the hood was the system was learning. It was finding its sea legs.
And you can see that learning process right here in the stats. The hash rate was tiny, really. Block times were all over the map, way, way above the target, and the difficulty just couldn't keep up. To an outsider, this might look like a network that's struggling, right? But it was actually the complete opposite.
This was the network literally tuning itself. See, unlike just standard hashing, Qubitcoin's workload is a super complex optimization problem. So during this whole phase, the software, the solvers, were just figuring out the rules of the game. The network was setting its baseline efficiency floor, and the difficulty algorithm was kind of waking up and learning how to handle this brand new type of work. This calibration period was absolutely crucial for everything that came next.
And that brings us to Phase 2, the ignition. October is where our little detective story gets its first major plot twist. The learning phase was over, and the first real spark of growth was about to happen.
Just check out these numbers. The hash rate jumps by like 4 or 5 times what it was. The difficulty scrambles to catch up. And, this is the important part, the block time starts to settle down, getting much closer to its target. So what happened? What flipped the switch?
And here it is, the key clue. The growth didn't come from more people joining in. No, it came from the software they were using getting a whole lot smarter, all at once. The efficiency of the code itself, that was the catalyst.
And this was the result of what you could call the first code race. Developers behind different mining software, like 1.0 and WildRig, they started pushing out these new optimizations that were specifically built for Qubitcoin's unique problems. They were moving past generic code and into these really specialized, powerful solvers. And boom, the network's power just exploded because of it.
And that, of course, brings us to the climax of our story, Phase 3, the amplification. That little spark that we saw in October, it's about to become an absolute inferno in November. And now we actually have the clues to understand why. I mean, this chart just says it all, doesn't it? Look at the bar on the left. That's the miner count. It barely moves. It's just flat, hovering around 1,800. But then you look at the bar on the right, the hash rate, and it just skyrockets, going from about 10 all the way to nearly 60 terahashes per second. How is that even possible?
Well, it's possible because Qubitcoin mining plays by a totally different set of rules. In classic crypto mining, if you want more power, you need more machines. Simple. But here, the rule is totally different. Better solvers create exponentially more power from the exact same group of miners.
This crazy phenomenon is called a second-order effect. Basically, once that calibration phase found the network's efficiency baseline, every single new software improvement didn't just add a little bit of power, it multiplied the power of every single GPU already on the network. That's what created that insane 380% surge. It wasn't an addition of miners, it was a multiplication of efficiency.
So there you have it. We've solved the mystery of the November surge.
But, solving one mystery just leads to another question. What's the network look like today, and what can this three-phase pattern we just uncovered tell us about the future?
Okay, so this is where the network finally landed after that massive explosion. We've got a hash rate just hanging out around 57 terahashes per second, with the difficulty having finally caught up. And hey, notice the block time? It's now around 480 seconds, which is actually a little faster than the target, so the network's still running a little hot. But the vertical growth? That's stopped. It's hit a plateau.
So why the plateau? Well, for one, all the easy software optimizations, the low-hanging fruit, they've been picked. The difficulty has finally adjusted to this new, much higher reality, creating a kind of balance. And since the number of miners is stable, any future growth now completely depends on the next major software breakthrough. This isn't a sign of weakness, it's just the network catching its breath.
And that's the real key takeaway here. This plateau isn't the end of growth. Not at all. It's the natural, healthy, and expected stabilization of a network after it's gone through a radical transformation. It's simply settled into a new and much, much higher baseline. So let's just quickly recap the entire detective story. First, during calibration, the network learned the rules. Then the first wave of smart software created the ignition. And finally, even more updates created that massive amplification, all thanks to that second-order effect.
Now, using this exact pattern, the source makes a really fascinating projection. It says that if another efficiency jump on the same scale as what we saw back in October happens again, the network wouldn't just creep up, it would more than double, maybe hitting 120, even 150 terahashes per second.
And this isn't just wishful thinking. There are some really solid reasons to believe another leap is totally possible. There are new, more advanced solvers on the horizon. The ones we have now are still seen as pretty early stage, and there's just a huge amount of untapped potential in making GPUs, especially multiple GPUs, work together better. The software race is really just getting started.
And that's where we'll leave it. The plateau we're seeing today isn't an endpoint. Think of it more like a staging ground. The network has stabilized at this new, powerful equilibrium, and now it's basically just waiting for the next great idea, the next piece of brilliant code that's going to trigger the next big growth phase. The system is primed and ready for another leap. The only question is, when will that next software unlock arrive?